All right, I was gonna wait till right at 9 a.m. Central, but I figured, what the hell? It's a Friday. We can go a couple minutes early. We can just get started, right? Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. It is, of course, Friday the 13th. And unfortunately, we do not have any spooky news, but we sure as hell have a lot of creepy things to talk about. So I guess that kind of counts, right? Of course, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. I only say that just as a reminder in case you forgot to go out and get a card for anybody special. Kind of need to do that. This honestly, actually, the first year where I remembered earlier in the week. So usually I'm the night before, oh crap, because my wife and I typically don't do anything, for Valentine's Day. My birthday is the day after. So by the way, also next time you see me live, I will be a year older than I am right now. So we typically don't do anything for Valentine's Day. Plus, our anniversary is 10 days after that anyway, and that's the big thing. So it's never been anything that we do too much for. Obviously, cards and a little bit here and there, depending on what we do. I don't know. Whatever, it is what it is. But if you, of course, do have a special someone in your life that does take the day very seriously, the clock's ticking. So make sure you get on that. Also, real quick, thank you, by the way, everybody, for the happy birthday messages. That is, of course, why I mentioned that. I love the attention. But no, for real, I do want to address something that happened in the stream yesterday in case it did offend anyone. At the end of the stream, as I was in the process of very slowly and clumsily wrapping it up, it ended. Stream just went away. And that is because my tab on my browser that I use for the streaming here just crashed. And it gave me a message that said, tab crashed. So didn't want anybody to be offended and think that I was just like, screw you guys, I'm leaving. That's not what happened. It was super weird. I don't know why it happened, but it did. So my apologies for all of that. Again, it's just finally get good internet, and then the browser itself is like, well, now I'm not gonna work. So weird times sometimes. Let's get to it. I have rambled on long enough. I'm sure y'all are tired of that. You want to hear what the hell is going on in the world. So let's get started. Yesterday, on Thursday, Donald Trump had basically a day-long temper tantrum about everything because, of course, the stress of this job, the stress of the entire world hating him and realizing that he's a corrupt con man is really starting to get to him. The first meltdown that Donald Trump had, of course, was his defense of Pam Bondi's performance on Wednesday, which, of course, we all predicted he was going to do publicly. Behind the scenes, I think, totally different story unfolding. But Trump decided to lash out at everybody, left, right, and center, attacking Pam Bondi, saying this on Truth Social. AG Pam Bondi, under intense fire from the Trump deranged radical left lunatics, was fantastic at yesterday's hearing on the never-ending saga of Jeffrey Epstein, where the one thing that has been proven conclusively, much to their chagrin, was that President Donald J. Trump has been 100% exonerated of their ridiculous Russia type charges. He then accused the slimeball Democrats of having been proven guilty in the scandal. Nobody cared about Epstein when he was alive. They only cared about him when they thought that he could create political harm to a very popular president who has brought our country back from the brink of extinction, and very quickly at that. In fact, this attempt by the Democrats to take away attention from tremendous Republican success is backfiring badly, right? Because nobody's Nobody's paying attention to the Epstein stuff. No, no, no. They're all focused on how amazing the economy is because, as Pam Bondi told us on Wednesday, the Dow's over 50,000. Unfortunately for her, of course, the Dow then went under 50,000. So, she doesn't have that excuse anymore. He mentioned Trump derangement syndrome. And I think that's apt, not to the people that he said are suffering from it, but for himself. This man is suffering from his own mental illness that he created. Nothing he said was true. Like, I've been exonerated. You were literally implicated in a third-degree felony for failure to report a crime against a minor. That's what we learned in this latest Epstein drop. Okay? You've been implicated in criminal activity where previously we hadn't been able to get you on any. So exact opposite of what you said happened. And of course, a hugely popular president. You are literally the least popular president in the lifetime of everyone alive in the United States right now. Everyone. There is not a single person living in the United States today that has ever lived under a president with a higher disapproval rating than Donald Trump has right now. Even Richard Nixon. Trump has beaten him. So that's a lie. And then, of course, the whole nobody's fallen for this. Your own MAGA followers are calling for Bondi not to just resign or be fired, but to be put in jail, bud. That's how bad it was. And you know that. That is, of course, why you're engaged in this insane level of cope. But as I said, that wasn't the only meltdown that Donald Trump had yesterday. That was just one of many. He then decided to go ahead and attack the Wall Street Journal because the Wall Street Journal reported yesterday that a friend of Donald Trump, a golf buddy by the name of Harry Sargent, was apparently in charge, as the Wall Street Journal claimed, of carving up Venezuela to give to various different groups to exploit the natural resources of the country. So Trump, mad about this report, goes on Truth Social and says this, which, by the way, is exactly what the Bush administration did with Iraq. But Trump said this: relations between Venezuela and the United States have been, to put it mildly, extraordinary. We are dealing very well with President Delcy Rodriguez and her representatives. Oil is starting to flow and large amounts of money, unseen for many years, will soon be greatly helping the people of Venezuela. Marco Rubio and all of our representatives are doing a fantastic job, but we speak only for ourselves and don't want there to be any confusion or misrepresentation. There's a story about a man named Harry Sargent III in the Wall Street Journal. He has no authority in any way, shape, or form to act on behalf of the United States of America, nor does anyone else that is not approved by the State Department. Without this approval, no one is authorized to represent our country. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Yeah, you literally didn't refute anything in the report, though. He has no authority to represent our country. Wall Street Journal didn't say he was over there representing the United States like he's at the Olympics. Like, hey, I'm here for the U.S. No, he's here, or there, I should say, for corporations that want to go and strip mine the entire country. And you did nothing to even address any of that at all. Like, you didn't even come close to addressing it. You danced around the issue, which of course tells us that is most definitely what's happening. And that wasn't the end of the meltdowns either. Because as I said, everything is getting to Donald Trump, whether it's the Epstein stuff, the Venezuela stuff, and of course the fact that the governors of the United States decided, we're not going to hold our meeting because you're not inviting all the governors. We're going to stand up for our Democratic brethren and not have our meeting with you. Trump got pissed at Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt, who of course is in charge, and was like, yeah, we're just not going to do it. So Trump gets on Truth Social and says this about Stitt. Remember, It was Rhino Governor Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma, who was massively behind his opponent in his previous election for governor, who called me to ask for help. I endorsed him, barely, and he won his race. He then went on to modestly represent among the greatest people on earth, the incredible patriots of the Sooner State, who gave me unprecedented voting acclamation, in all 3 elections, winning every county within the state 3 times and getting more votes than anyone who has ever run for office, including the late, great Ronald Reagan. In any event, we will soon have a governor of Oklahoma who knows how to accurately write a press release to the public, in this case to state that I invited, not happily, almost all Democrat governors to the governor's dinner at the White House. Stitt, a wise guy, knew this, but tried to get some cheap publicity by stating otherwise. Anyway, I'll see whoever shows up at the White House. The fewer the better. The fewer the better. I don't even want you guys to come to my party. I don't even care if you show up. I'm going to do it anyway, and it's going to be fun with whoever comes. I'm not mad. You're mad. So President Pissy Pants here just went all day throwing temper tantrums, nonstop, about everything. That's what I love about it. It's not just like one issue that's on his mind. It's everything getting to him all at once, causing him to have this like hours long meltdown all day Thursday. Absolutely perfect. No notes. I hope it continues. So a bunch of super chats come through. I want to address these. I believe this is the first one here. It says, don't worry, between the 2025, people are attacking left channels. That's not good. We don't want people attacking left channels. Thank you, Marie's Lease. It cuts off the name, so unfortunately, sometimes I'm not able to read the whole name, but thank you very much. Skeets here says, the only other place I have seen behavior like Bondi was Mad Magazine in the 70s. Trump is obviously insane. More Epstein info comes daily. It really does. Honestly, at this point, it's getting really difficult to kind of keep track of everything because it's the old metaphor like drinking from the fire hose. But this is what we need. Pagan Sky says, your rambling is far more interesting than other people's proselytizing. Happy Valentine's Day, happy birthday, and happy President's Day. Well, thank you very much for all of the kind words. Happy everything except for President's Day, because we got no president to celebrate this time. Zin Thoen says, recently listened to a video about Russia unable to recover for 100 years. Then I think about MAGA damages here and extinction events and post-apocalypse stories. Hard to imagine any silver lining with a country restarting from zero. I mean, I don't know how long it does take us to recover. I don't know that we ever fully do. But as I have said, a couple times in the past, a lot of these institutions basically just have to be gutted. And I think the White House has to be gutted. And I'm not talking about the staffers. I'm saying tear it down and rebuild. Get rid of every trace of Donald Trump. I mean, the White House has effectively, obviously, been gutted in the past. It's not like this would be completely unprecedented. You're going to get a ton of backlash from it, but then people are going to move on, forget, and not care. But I would remove every trace of Donald Trump, every footstep, every ketchup stain, everything by tearing the whole thing down, to the foundation, ripping out the foundation and starting over from scratch. So when I say that a lot of these places need to be gutted, I'm not just talking about getting rid of all the staffers. I mean, literally tear it down and rebuild. That's what I would like to see. I know it's not going to happen, but it is what it is. Let's move on, because Donald Trump had multiple meltdowns yesterday, kind of like an all-day thing. Skeets here says, U.S. does not learn about 1812 when Canada burned it to the ground. It's exactly kind of what I was getting to there. But yeah, anyway, so Trump has this all-day meltdown on Thursday, but Later in the day, his mood did brighten. On Thursday, the Washington Coal Club presented Donald Trump with a first of its kind, undisputed champion of beautiful, clean coal award, which they just created, kind of like the FIFA Peace Prize. And so Donald Trump's mood improved dramatically when he received another fake award, basically a participation trophy for being alive. And even that's a little questionable, but it made him happy because he enjoys getting fake things. He enjoys the recognition. This is the most pathetic human being that has ever served as president of the United States. And this isn't even from like a real big lobbying group or any kind of, special interest group. This is the Washington Coal Club. Something that even in my over a decade as an environmental writer, I've never even heard of them. But they created a fake award, gave it to Donald Trump, and of course, made his day. So I've done the same thing. I have also created an award. It didn't exist before, but it exists now, that I am going to give. I've already actually, claimed that Donald Trump is the winner here. It is the 2026 Fat Cat Award. I made this myself. This is my cat Loki, who is very much overweight. But it's the 2026 Fat Cat Award presented to Donald J. Trump. Now, before anybody thinks, why are you giving him a Fat Cat Award? Because he's a corporate guy? No. The Fat Cat in this particular award has nothing to do with his business acumen. No. What I mean by Fat Cat is that you're the biggest pussy I think anybody has ever seen. So, we're doing a little play on words there because we don't obviously want to put that on the award, even though I did put it down here on the award. So Donald, whenever you're ready, you let me know when I can come to the White House and give you your big pussy award. I know you like them. I'm going to keep it. I've kind of wrinkled it a little bit. So I hope that's okay. I mean, you could put it in a nice frame. I'm not going to do that for you because I don't want to put more effort into it. But this is a very real award. It exists. Used up a lot of my black ink on it, which is not cheap. So again, have your people reach out to me. I don't have people, so you don't have to contact me directly. I'll come to DC at your expense, though. Present this to you in the Oval Office. We'll hold it up together, smile, shake hands if you're physically capable of doing that. I don't want to bruise you. And there you go. This will be waiting for you. I'm going to set it right over here. And hey, I'll tell you what, if you want, I'll bring the Fat Cat himself. I will bring Loki with me so you can actually pet the Fat Cat. But that is my offer. That is your award ready for you whenever you choose to decide. We have fun here. Some super chats. Hunter Williams says, can Trump keep the awards he's getting in office? Yeah, I mean, they were given to him. It's his stuff. And of course, the value does not exceed the limit on presidential gifts. And of course, because they're not technically coming from a foreign government, then yeah, he'll be able to keep them. Michelle Wood says, I was just talking to my sister who is a stroke survivor, and she said Trump will fire Bondi. I said no, because Trump loves watching his minions put on a show for him to watch. No firing anytime soon. I'm going to side with your sister on that. Bondi's going to go. Bondi, and it's not just because of the horrific performance, that she delivered this week. That's kind of, like I said the other day, the icing on the cake. She's failed at everything she's done for him. She has brought nothing but humiliation. And of course, they suffered another one this week when it was revealed that the grand jury refused to indict any of those 6 Democrats. She keeps messing up. And while Donald Trump does love her loyalty, and that is what has bought her as much time as it has, he's not going to tolerate the nonstop, not just failure, but humiliating failures. So I do think that she is going to, of course, be fired. But we'll see. Juan Peralta says solar panels increase homeowner maintenance costs. True. But not in like a horrible way. The house we moved into here, it had solar panels. That was, a big selling point for me, that were, the previous owner had bought them outright. So there's no, like, I have to take over a loan, but at the same time, we have to put on a new roof. So suddenly the cost of a new roof has like more than doubled, because they also have to remove all of the solar panels, then put them all back on. And there's not a ton of companies that are capable of doing all of that. So you have to go and hire the solar company to come back, take them down, leave them just all over your yard while they're doing the roof. And then you have to pay them to come back and put them back on. But it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. It's just way, way, way more expensive, which is why we still have not been able to replace the roof yet. Zinthoen says, institution gutted, as you said, and I can agree to be rid of corruption. It was the original silver lining I used to have, but then I'm aware how vulnerable it can leave us, as well as the struggles that may be had. Yeah, it's a gamble, but sometimes you got to do it. Gargoyle Dragon says, it's official. Farron Cousins endorses the unalive it with fire solution of historical philosophy. I only agree if we mandate that Donald Trump watch as we do it. I do think there should be a live shot when the next president comes in and takes a wrecking ball to his ballroom. I want a live shot of Trump's reaction. And I swear to God, if the next president doesn't tear that thing down, I'm done. Like, I'm just going to be done. We don't want it. We don't need it. Trump's fingerprints, his name are going to be all over it. Same thing with whatever corporate sponsors are going to be. Get rid of the damn thing. Or if you're going to keep it, turn it into a youth center. Turn it into a soup kitchen. Turn it into a homeless shelter. Turn it into a daycare. Turn it into something useful for the residents of Washington, D.C., not just the wealthy elite, not the powerful, not even just the people who work in the administration. Turn it into something for the community to use. That would be the biggest slap in the face to Donald Trump. That would hurt him more than having it torn down. Seeing it used for needy people would be the worst thing to ever happen to him. And that's what they should do. CK Progressive says, update on the Gordie Howe Bridge. House Democrats just introduced a new bill to protect the project from Trump. The fact that this needs an act from Congress tells us how messed up things are in D.C. Skeets here says, people need to watch as much Epstein revelations as possible. This stuff explains all the negative in our society. It goes back to the 80s. I agree. And I agree, by the way, with both of those, both with CK Progressive and Skeets here. And for the record, sometimes if I read a comment and then I don't say anything necessarily after it, it's not because I don't like your comment. It's because you're right. And you nailed it. And I don't need to sit here and be like, yes, that is correct and right and good. So if I don't say anything after it, do not take it as like, oh, you didn't like my comment. It's like, no, you nailed it. And I'm only going to cheapen it by saying stupid stuff. So just wanted to get that out there. It's Friday, folks. We're having fun. We're enjoying ourselves. It's still early in the morning. We got a long holiday weekend coming up. I got a birthday. I'm relaxed. I'm just happy today. I'm in a good mood. Got a great night's sleep. So yeah, I'm also like 36 ounces of water this morning. which whenever I do that, if I drink a lot of water in the morning, it definitely kind of makes me more alert, gets my day going on a better track. So I love that. And yes, for anybody asking, this is water, regular, non-sparkling water. Cans instead of the plastic bottles, because obviously plastic is far worse. Some super chats I want to get to. ET0001 says, do you think that it would be better for the Mad King to force out Bondi by focusing on and admiring her for all of her failures to do what he wants? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a situation where she resigns voluntarily because of the pressure that they basically say, like, we don't want to publicly fire you, but we're gonna if you don't resign. So I don't know what the situation is going to look like, but the administration will do whatever they can to minimize the damage. But if it looks like Bondi has caused too much damage for the administration, then it would be like a very public, I'm getting rid of her, this failure piece of human garbage. And that could also be very fun. Patrel Viewer 9536 says, hi, Farron, 32-year-old from France. If it weren't for Donald Trump's return, I would have visited many U.S. places, St. Augustine, Chicago, San Francisco, etc. Yeah, we unfortunately get a lot of that in the United States over the last year. Foreign tourism to the United States has plummeted. And that, of course, has hurt a lot of places that are dependent not just on tourism from inside the United States, but on foreign tourism. Places like Orlando, Florida, Las Vegas is reeling from the loss of even just the Canadian tourism, because Canada, y'all were apparently keeping Vegas afloat. And you know, so we're all suffering as a result of that. My state, specifically Florida, our number one industry is tourism, hospitality. So without the foreign dollars coming in, it is, you know, a big drain on our place here. Thank you very much, Yvonne Courtney, for the super chat there. And Skeet Sayer says, how do you even begin to spin Bondi? She is indignantly stupid. He can't. And I think that's why he's kind of backed himself into a corner with her, because as I've said, even MAGA is turning on her to the point where he can't defend it. When he's lost his base, when she obviously has lost the base's support, then I think the days are numbered starting at that point. Speaking of Bondi, her and Jeanine Pirro could be in a heap of trouble here. As everybody knows, earlier this week, it was revealed that Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, at the direction, of course, of the U.S. Department of Justice under Pam Bondi, had attempted to get a grand jury to indict the 6 Democrats who put out the video telling military members it's literally your duty to not obey unlawful orders. She convened a grand jury in secret, tried to get them to indict. They came back and said, absolutely not going to happen. And now, at least one of those Democrats is telling them, y'all better preserve your records because this isn't over with. And that member, of course, is Alyssa Slotkin, who said this week. President Trump tweeted more than a dozen times calling for me to be investigated, arrested, and hanged. I wrote to Attorney General Pam Bondi and U.S. Attorney Pirro to inform them that I wouldn't be doing an interview and that their offices should preserve their records should I decide to sue for their infringement of my constitutional rights. I am not going to legitimize what they're doing. The video in question was public, and I've talked about it extensively in the open. Our Constitution is crystal clear about our freedom of speech, and that's a value worth fighting for. To be honest, very smart people have told me to keep my head down and be quiet, and doing so would make this inquiry go away. But that's exactly what Trump and Pirro want. They're employing physical and legal intimidation to get me to shut up, and much more importantly, to deter other people from criticizing them. So I'm taking the opposite approach. I am fighting back because this is bigger than any one senator or any one video. If they can do this to me, what can they do to a business leader, or the head of a community foundation, or a mom who goes viral on the internet for criticizing Donald Trump? We all own our choices. I own mine, and Pirro and Trump must own theirs. Now, I read a lot of quotes, in daily videos, in this live stream. This is one of the most powerful and most inspirational that I think I've read in a long time. So Slotkin, absolutely, that's the kind of leadership we need right now. That's the kind of fighting spirit. That's the kind of attitude. Like, hey, everybody says you just shut up and just stay quiet and we'll get through this. And she's like, piss off. No, I'm going to hold these people accountable. I am not going to shut up. I'm not going to go away, because the second I do that, they've won. I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to get louder if I need to. I'm going to get angrier. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, because screw those people. They're breaking the law. They're violating rights. And if I don't stand up, then it's going to continue to everybody else too. We need leadership like that. We need more powerful statements like this. Not just hold a press conference and come out and say, well, I don't like what they're doing and they should knock it off. No, Slotkin's like, look, you want to fight? I'll fight right now. Let's go. Preserve your records, because you're going to need them when I take your ass to court. That is a far more powerful message than holding a scheduled press conference for 2 minutes and saying that you're not happy with what the administration is doing, which is typically what the Democrats do these days. Let me get to some super chats here. Yvonne Courtney says, would love to see how long any of Trump's cabinet or even Trump would last in the UK Parliament. I doubt they would last 2 minutes. Yeah, y'all got a lot of like kind of zero tolerance type stuff. Like, we'll get it. And of course, a lot of people that are just like, screw it, I'm out of here. Now we know why Bongino retired, says Skeet Sayer. Yeah, that was, I mean, it wasn't weird that he did, because, he had done nothing but complain and cry like a baby about how hard the job was. And I don't get to see my friends and my family, and I'm sad and I can't go outside and play anymore. And I'm making less money than I made off my podcast, man. But you were also in a position of power that you decided to give up because you allegedly wanted to spend more time having fun, but you don't look like a guy that even knows how to have fun. You look pissed off and just in a bad mood every time I've seen you. Also, you're a big giant puss as well, because I had never, this many, many years ago, I had never interacted with Dan Bongino. I had never spoken about him. I'd never done a segment on him at the time. This honestly was before I even started Fair and Balanced, when I was only doing Ring of Fire. And one day I saw that he and Cenk Uygur were like going at it on Twitter. And then suddenly I couldn't see Dan Bongino's tweets. He blocked me. Again, never talked about him, never mentioned his name, never tweeted at him, about him, anything. And he blocked me. So yeah, you're a big giant puss for preemptively blocking an individual that never talked about you ever. Skeet Sayer says trials for the admin must be public and live. Yeah. Like primetime television too. I don't want this middle of the day crap where people have to open a stream and then maybe they'll get to watch a little of it while they're working. No, I want this to be like prime time. Gargoyle Dragon says, Cousins, say the names of the Ep files in Congress. They read the names. Cousins, they should sue. They sue. Please say we should raise minimum wage and tax billionaires. They're listening to you. Hey, it's always great when somebody else points it out instead of me having to do it. I do appreciate that very much, Gargoyle Dragon. Tax billionaires. Tax them 100 times more than you're taxing them now. Give us universal health care. Give us debt-free college. Get money out of politics. Somebody suggested that. And what was it? Raise the damn minimum wage that you haven't raised since, what was it, 2009? 2007? One of those? And of course, protect the environment. That should be a no-brainer. And so many other things, but pass the constitutional amendment to undo Citizens United right now. Remember the sentence for breaking prohibition laws in that one Simpsons episode? It is wrong that I wish for everyone guilty and whole thing and the administration, from Scorpius. For those of you not familiar with that, the punishment for that episode where they had prohibition in Springfield was catapult. Load you up in the catapult, just shoot you off into wherever. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not opposed to it. ATM 873 says, MAGA's response to the economic woes is, as long as it's Trump's wrecking the economy, or as long as the tariff revenue is going to ICE, so be it. Cult. Sorry, I got distracted by another super chat that came through, which is literally the next story I'm getting to. They don't care anymore. Like the price of eggs, the price of energy, the price of everything, no longer a big deal for the MAGA freaks because Trump's doing it, and obviously he's doing it for a reason. The socialist trucker beat me by one damn second here with his super chat saying, RFK stated he used to do cocaine off toilet seats, the guy Trump put in charge of our healthcare, and by God, that is literally the next story. You beat me by 1 second, man. Yeah. In an interview with podcaster Theo Vaughn this week, the director of Health and Human Services with the United States federal government, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., seemingly boasted about how he's not afraid of germs because he used to do coke off of dirty toilet seats. Here's what he said. He was talking about meeting Theo Vaughn at an AA meeting, and he said they shut those down during COVID, but we still did live meetings every day during COVID. We moved from the bank. They were about 15 of us who moved from the bank, and we got into the Palisades Playhouse, which now burned down during the fire, but it was kind of a pirate group. And for me, you know what? I said this when we came in, and I said, I don't care what happens. I'm going to a meeting every day. And I said, I'm not scared of a germ. I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats, and I know this disease, alcoholism, will kill me. So because you did a stupid thing that you did not face any negative consequences for doing, those negative consequences don't exist. That's what this statement means. It's not just him reminding us that he is a, horrible, degenerate human being. It's him literally having the friggin' mindset that, well, I did something that everybody says is dangerous, but I didn't get harmed. So obviously this thing is not dangerous. And what's hilarious about this is that this is what I predicted. This is how I basically told you his mindset was almost a year ago on Mother's Day, or the day after Mother's Day, I guess, when he went swimming in that sewage. And I said, what's going to happen is that he's going to end up not getting sick. And then he's going to use that as an excuse to be like, see, I didn't get sick. So obviously it doesn't exist. Everybody's lying to you because I did it and I'm totally fine. Because that's how the brain of worms works when you're trying to confirm something that is not actually true. That's not a scientific experiment. A one-off event, an outlier event, basically, does not prove or disprove anything when you actually understand science. I mean, there's plenty of people that have smoked all their lives that don't have any heart or lung problems or, throat problems, they can do it and not end up with, a body riddled with cancer or a heart that's failing. So does that mean smoking is also safe? Does it mean that that's something that all the doctors and everybody, scientists have been lying to us about for years? Absolutely not. There are people, probably people in this chat, who at some point in their lives got behind the wheel of a car after they had had a little too much to drink, but still made it home safely. Didn't get into a wreck, didn't kill anybody. Does that mean that drunk driving is actually totally fine and safe? No. I used to jump off roofs. Like when I was a kid, it would freak my parents out. We'd be over at my grandparents' house because they had a fence right against the house. I'd climb up there and I would jump off the roof into the ground. And I did it like 100 times and never got hurt. So does that mean that jumping off roofs is just something everybody can do when they're lying to you about the dangers of gravity? No. But in Kennedy's mind, if I do a bad thing and nothing bad happens, obviously it's not a bad thing. Obviously, other bad things don't exist because I did a crazy thing and nothing happened to me. That's how dumb he is. That's how dumb he is. Member comment here from Terry Allen Jr. 13 years from many years ago, you mentioned climate change becomes irreversible. Is there time the next president chosen maybe prevents some? I've gotten in trouble by actual climate scientists in the past. They have called me out specifically for being too doom and gloom, for being a little too, whatever. So I don't want to say no, by the time the next one comes in, there's not enough time, but no, I don't think there is. I'm not a climate scientist. Listen to those folks first. If those folks tell you I'm being a bit of an alarmist or if I'm just being too doom and gloom, listen to them, please. But due to all of the years of inaction after we initially got that report, I don't think we can. And also, I am kind of wondering, though, like, where are all the other reports? Where's the alarm bells? Why are we not getting those anymore? We didn't get them like during the Biden administration hardly either. Like, where is the concern? Where are the climate scientists? Like, what is going on? That's a little concerning too. I'm worried that, they've been silenced. Skeets here says, this is the very definition of insanity. What the hell are we doing? We're being run as a country by the dumbest human beings ever. This is idiocracy. We are done. Antarctica has started to melt, says Skeets here. Cadet Bonespur says, I went outside, no lighting, must not exist. Yeah, I mean, we still get, like they mentioned there with the Antarctica, we still get a couple of, horrible reports every now and then, but we're not getting those big, like, listen up, idiots, here's what's happening reports. And we need a listen up, idiots, here's what's happening report. That's not the official name of them, but maybe that ought to be. Again, the climate scientists and I don't necessarily agree on messaging, but, that's just an agree to disagree. We both want the same end goal. We want the same way to get there. We just, disagree on how to convey that info. And I will say, just in general, that was a very weird time for me because, I was working in progressive media. That was when I was still doing the environmental writing on a daily basis. And to have these people that like I admire come out and like basically yell at me for being too dramatic. They didn't argue any of the facts either, by the way. Like I got all my facts right. So it was very disappointing for me. Unfortunately caused me to lose respect for a lot of them, to be honest with you, because they wanted to kind of do the mealy mouth Democrat, centrist, like, oh, well, we can still do stuff. I wanted the more progressive, like, do something now, you idiots. I'm a little more aggressive, I guess. a little more progressive, I guess, and a little more in tune with politics, knowing that these idiots aren't going to do anything. So you sitting there asking politely is not the way to get shit done. Apparently, I'm still mad about that. Something I hadn't thought of for years, had almost forgotten happened. So I'm glad we were able to reopen that wound today. Pagan Sky says, what are the chances that the Trump administration and its supporters could lose their citizenship or be deported for their blatant disregard of the U.S. Constitution and the violation of their passive office? You cannot strip citizenship from a natural-born citizen in the United States, only a naturalized citizen. So there's a 0% chance of that. Scorpius EA says, if we as a species started now, we probably could reverse the climate effects, but it's the political and economic stopping those who can do things. Yeah, and look, can we fix all the problems that have been created? The answer is, of course, absolutely yes. Can we fix it in the short amount of time we have left before, we hit that kind of, tipping point? No. It required the 13 years of real action, because that 13 years was, if we start now, we got 13 years. Thank you very everything's jumping around real quick. Mr. Zip, thank you very much. And then, of course, Laidlaw says they did repeal a pretty important finding at the EPA yesterday. Yeah, they did. That was part of Donald Trump's little acceptance of that coal award. And he demanded that the Department of Defense can only buy electricity from coal-fired power plants. Because, we've been burning coal in this country for fuel and electricity for hundreds of years. So let's go back. Let's go back in time and have that be how we still get our energy while everybody else is moving on and moving forward. We're like, no, we're going to go back to the late 1700s because, that's when America was great. They want to tell us. Let's move on. I got two more things I wanted to talk about. I think I'm only going to do one more. Pam Bondi absolutely 100% unequivocally lied to Congress this past week. And I know, look, a lot of people have obviously been saying Pam Bondi lied to Congress. Ted Lieu pointed out, you just lied under oath, when, of course, she said that Donald Trump is not a criminal. And that's obvious. Yes, that is a lie. Donald Trump is literally the definition of a criminal because he has been convicted of crimes. That's what a criminal is. But that's not the lie that I'm talking about. Because that one you could almost argue semantics on. Bondi lied about something far more consequential. She was asked why Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a lower security prison. And Bondi, 3 separate times, she was given the chance to correct herself 3 times and she refused to do it. She tripled down on the lie, said, that didn't happen. She was not moved to a prison with lower security standards than the one she was in Tallahassee. The one she was in Tallahassee is classified as a minimum security prison, which already, by the way, is not where a sex offender is supposed to be held. They are supposed to be held in maximum security. So Bondi says she was in a minimum security facility. She was moved to a lower security facility. So by the definition alone, you're wrong and you lied. And you admitted that. That was pointed out to you in the hearing and you agreed. But then you insisted that they were still the same thing, even though by definition, by the DOJ's classification, they, in fact, are not the same thing. I mean, Maxwell's been given access to puppies that are in training to be, guide dogs and helping dogs, and you're not allowed to play with those, even if you're not a prisoner, but she's been allowed to play with the puppies and screw up their potential training. She's ordering the warden around, having her act like her secretary. And Bondi sat there with a straight face 3 times and told us these aren't things that are happening. She lied under oath. The same woman who just a couple months ago tried to indict James Comey for allegedly lying under oath. And here she did the exact same thing that she has accused plenty of other people of doing. And the biggest problem with this is if the Democrats retake Congress in the midterms, they all get sworn in January. If the first thing they do is launch an inquiry into Pam Bondi's lying under oath, and they determine that she did, and they submit a criminal referral, who gets that criminal referral? Pam Bondi. So Pam Bondi would be the one to make the determination about whether or not to prosecute herself. And if she's not the one in charge of the DOJ this time next year, which I don't imagine she's going to be, it's going to go to another Donald Trump sycophant. And do you think that person, regardless of who they are, is going to prosecute the person who just held the job? Probably not. And even if the individual holding that office does decide, yeah, okay, fine, I'll prosecute her, what's going to happen? Well, the big dumb dementia patient sitting in the Oval Office is going to say, I'm going to pardon her. I'm going to make it to where it doesn't matter if she broke the law. She has a pardon. To put it another way, Bondi lied under oath because she knows she can. She knows she can commit perjury because there are all these different layers of protection that she has. That's how effed up the system is, folks. They can lie, they can break the law, they can be openly corrupt, which they definitely are, because they're the people in charge of holding themselves accountable. And that ain't ever going to happen. So that's a bit of a bummer. And I don't want to end on a bummer. Let's go. We'll do the last story here. Why not? Because this is a more positive one, and we should do it. They can still bring all the charges and make it public. Look, I don't disagree. I absolutely think they should. I think they should have the hearings, the investigations, all of it. I'm not going to hold out hope that we're going to get the outcome of it that we want. I still want them to do it, just like with impeachment. Not Al Green's impeachment. Like, I don't know how many times that guy can just miss the mark and screw up, but for the love of God, can he stop? Like, he keeps trying to impeach Trump on things that, like, one, haven't been investigated, two, aren't even potentially crimes. Like, his most recent one was like, I'm going to impeach Trump for the racist Obama video. That's not an impeachable offense. It's a horrible thing for a human being to do. He's a piece of shit, yeah. But you can't impeach somebody for being a racist piece of shit. So I think Al Green needs to just chill out and stop and let somebody far more responsible be in charge of impeaching Trump. Because he's been doing this since Trump's first term, by the way. And when he was doing it back then, I talked about him like, this is ridiculous. You're overshooting here. You're jumping the gun. It's not, it just, I've really lost respect for him altogether. And somebody says Al Green is a great singer. And yeah, it's a little weird mentioning him because obviously he does share the name with the singer. Last story here, real quick. A federal judge this week, a judge that was appointed by a former Republican president, told Pete Hegseth, no, you can't punish Democratic Senator Mark Kelly by demoting him or removing his military rank. Basically, you can't do a damn thing to him, Pete Hegseth. So stop trying. This was federal judge Richard Leon in Washington, D.C. And here is what he said in his ruling. Unfortunately for the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, no court has ever extended principles to retired service members that they want to do here, obedience and discipline if they believe someone has not been obedient in the military, much less has the administration done something to a retired service member serving in Congress and exercising oversight responsibility over the military. This court will not be the first to do so. To say the least, our retired veterans deserve more respect from our government, and our Constitution demands they receive it. This court has all it needs to conclude that defendants have trampled on Senator Kelly's First Amendment freedoms and threatened the constitutional liberties of millions of military retirees. Now, to kind of paraphrase that, jump through the legalese, that's basically Judge Richard Leon saying directly to Pete Hegseth, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, what do you think you're doing here? This is something that's literally never been done. It's not ever gonna be done. You need to go away, basically. And I love that. I would like to see more court opinions like this. But as I've pointed out in plenty of recent segments too, we are seeing more and more conservative justices, including some appointed by Trump himself, going against this administration. For the time being, and that doesn't mean they all are by any stretch. You know, you still got Judge Cannon down there doing whatever she can to protect Trump. But for the time being, the guardrails of our democracy are kind of holding. And I say kind of because obviously not 100%, but kind of. We still got a little bit. We're still getting some pushback from the third branch of government. And that's always a positive thing. Super chat from Lauren Tamaro says, I want to hear a lawmaker tell the toadies to preserve your documents because as soon as this clown show of an administration is done, so are you. I would love that. I think that's a phenomenal thing for them to say, and I hope they do. All right. That is it. It is Friday. It's time to go have fun. We got a ton of great content still coming up for the remainder of the day, so please make sure you check all that stuff out. Follow me across social media at Fair and Balanced. You can find me whatever platform it is at that handle. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Share the content. Share the content of other progressive creators. Don't forget, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Again, I started off reminding everybody, you know, if you got a special somebody and you forgot to do something, you got the rest of the day. Don't panic yet. If you haven't made dinner reservations, you're probably not going to get those. But plan something nice for somebody or do something nice for yourself. Engage in a little self-care. That's always a good thing too. Everybody, thank you for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful weekend. I will see you Monday.